This man thought he could get away with murder, but what he didn't count on was the internet's unrelenting quest for justice. We're diving into one of the most chilling and bizarre crimes of the last decade, the murder of Jun Lin at the hands of Luca Magnotta. Buckle up, because this story has everything: deception, brutality, and a digital manhunt that'll make your head spin. Luca Magnotta didn't just suddenly snap and commit this heinous crime. His life was marked by a series of troubling behaviors and signs that something was deeply wrong. Born Eric Clinton Kirk Newman, Magnotta grew up in a dysfunctional family with a history of abuse. He struggled with his identity from a young age, eventually changing his name to Luca Rocco Magnotta in an attempt to reinvent himself. Magnotta's early life was marked by failed attempts to break into the modeling and acting industries. He underwent numerous plastic surgeries to enhance his appearance, believing that fame was just around the corner. But when his career didn't take off, he turned to more desperate measures, seeking attention in the most disturbing ways possible. He often created fake online profiles to spread rumors about himself, even going so far as to claim he was in a relationship with notorious Canadian serial killer Karla Homolka. This kind of behavior highlighted his deep need for attention and validation, no matter the cost. So, how did this all go down? Magnotta and Jun Lin met through an online ad. Magnotta was offering companionship, and Jun responded. They met up at Magnotta's apartment in Montreal, and what should have been a simple encounter turned into a nightmare. Once inside the apartment, Magnotta subdued Jun, and the horror began. In a crime so brutal it's hard to describe, Magnotta murdered Jun, dismembered his body, and filmed the entire thing. Yeah, you heard that right. He actually filmed the murder as if it were some sick movie, and then uploaded it online for the world to see. Before the murder of Jun Lin, Magnotta had already shown signs of extreme cruelty and a taste for the macabre. In 2010, he uploaded a video online showing him suffocating 2 kittens by placing them in a vacuum-sealed bag. This video shocked and outraged animal rights activists and internet users alike, leading to the formation of online groups dedicated to tracking him down. However, despite their efforts and reporting the videos to the authorities, Magnotta wasn't caught or stopped. This earlier incident can be seen as a precursor to the violence he would later unleash on Jun Lin, as he escalated his actions to gain even more notoriety. The video, titled "One Lunatic, One Ice Pick," showed Magnotta stabbing Jun with an ice pick and a kitchen knife, dismembering his body, and performing unspeakable acts with the corpse. He even fed parts of Jun to his pet dog. If you're thinking, how can anyone be so twisted? You're not alone. The video quickly gained attention online, and people were horrified. But Magnotta was determined to stay on the run. After committing the murder, he fled the country, heading to Paris and then to Berlin, trying to stay ahead of the law. But here's where things get interesting. Magnotta underestimated the internet. The role that online communities played in both the investigation and the spread of the crime is nothing short of remarkable. After the video of Jun Lin's murder was posted online, a group of dedicated internet sleuths, some of whom were already familiar with Magnotta's kitten-killing videos, began to piece together clues about his identity. These amateur detectives scoured the web, looking for any trace of Magnotta, and they were instrumental in connecting the dots between the videos, the mailed body parts, and the missing person report filed for Jun Lin. The online community's efforts weren't limited to just identifying Magnotta. They also played a significant role in keeping the case in the public eye, pressuring law enforcement to act quickly, and providing vital information that helped track Magnotta's movements across Europe. This case highlighted both the dark side of the internet, where such horrific content could be shared, and its potential as a tool for good, bringing a killer to justice. Magnotta had mailed Jun's hands and feet to political offices and schools in Canada, further taunting those trying to catch him. Back in Montreal, police searched Magnotta's apartment and found a scene straight out of a horror movie. Bloodstains, dismemberment tools, and a gruesome poster of the movie Casablanca hanging on the wall, almost as if Magnotta saw himself as the tragic hero of some twisted story. Interpol issued a red notice for Magnotta, making him one of the most wanted men in the world. But Magnotta, being the narcissist that he was, couldn't resist checking the news to see if he was the talk of the town. This proved to be his downfall. After days of evading capture, Magnotta was spotted at an internet cafe in Berlin on June 4, 2012. And what was he doing? Googling news about himself. Talk about arrogance. The cafe owner recognized him and called the police. Magnotta was arrested without a fight, ending his international game of hide-and-seek. Back in Canada, Magnotta was extradited and faced trial for first-degree murder. The evidence against him was overwhelming, from the video to the DNA traces in his apartment. But Magnotta pleaded not guilty, claiming he was mentally ill and couldn't be held responsible for his actions. The jury wasn't buying it. During Magnotta's trial, psychologists and forensic experts delved into his mental state, trying to understand what drove him to commit such a brutal act. Magnotta was diagnosed with multiple mental health disorders, including borderline personality disorder, schizophrenia, and narcissistic personality disorder. These conditions, combined with his obsession with fame, created a perfect storm that led to the murder. The defense tried to argue that Magnotta was not criminally responsible for his actions due to his mental illness. They claimed that he was in a psychotic state during the murder and was unable to distinguish right from wrong. However, the prosecution countered that Magnotta's actions were premeditated and calculated. They pointed out that he had meticulously planned the murder, from arranging the meeting with Jun Lin, to setting up a camera to film the act, to mailing the body parts to political offices. The jury ultimately sided with the prosecution, believing that Magnotta knew exactly what he was doing. On December 23, 2014, after a 12-week trial, Luca Magnotta was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for 25 years. He was also convicted of several other charges, including committing an indignity to a body and distributing obscene materials. As for Jun Lin, his family was left devastated by the senseless loss of their son. They had come to Canada to find a better life, and instead, they had to bring their son's remains back home in pieces. The Chinese community in Montreal, along with many others around the world, mourned Jun's death and condemned the horrific way in which he was taken. The murder of Jun Lin didn't just affect those in Canada, it sent shockwaves around the world. The international community was horrified by the brutality of the crime and the fact that it was broadcast online for anyone to see. China, in particular, was deeply impacted, as Jun Lin was one of many Chinese students studying abroad. His murder raised concerns about the safety of international students and led to calls for better protection and support for those studying in foreign countries. And what drove Luca Magnotta to commit such an unimaginable crime? It seems like a combination of factors: a desperate need for fame, deep-seated narcissism, and a desire to shock the world. Magnotta had been trying to build a name for himself for years, and when that failed, he turned to violence, hoping to achieve infamy instead. Before the murder, Magnotta had a history of bizarre and disturbing behavior. He was known for creating multiple online identities, spreading false rumors about himself, and even posting videos of himself torturing animals. Some believe that the murder of Jun Lin was Magnotta's way of escalating his behavior to finally get the attention he craved. And unfortunately, he succeeded, at least for a while. The world was indeed shocked, and Magnotta's name became infamous. But in the end, he didn't get the glamorous life he wanted. Instead, he's locked away, remembered not as a star, but as a murderer. Even after Magnotta's conviction, the case continues to resonate. Documentaries, books, and online discussions about the crime keep it in the public consciousness, serving as a grim reminder of what can happen when fame and mental illness collide in the worst possible way. The case also sparked discussions about the responsibilities of internet platforms in monitoring and removing violent content, as well as the ethical implications of consuming such content. In prison, Magnotta reportedly lives a relatively comfortable life compared to other inmates, with access to a TV, a computer, and the ability to order items online. This has sparked outrage among those who believe he should be facing harsher conditions for his crime. Despite this, Magnotta remains a figure of infamy, with his name forever tied to one of the most shocking murders of the digital age. Luca Magnotta's crime left a scar on everyone who encountered it, whether in person or online. It serves as a grim reminder of the dark side of the internet and the lengths to which some will go for a twisted version of fame. But it also showed the power of the online community to come together and bring a killer to justice. So, what can we take away from this? Maybe it's that no matter how hard someone tries to hide, the truth has a way of coming out. And sometimes the internet can be a force for good, even when faced with the darkest of evils. That's the story of Jun Lin and Luca Magnotta, a case that shocked the world and made us all question just how far someone will go to be remembered.